Hello everyone and welcome to LEGO Star Wars Hot Takes episode 21. As always, if you have any hot takes or controversial opinions about LEGO Star Wars, make sure to go ahead and leave them in the comments below. But without further ado, hopping right into it, starting off with Juana Alvarez, I guess that's how you say your name, I have no idea. Hot take, LEGO should stick with their designs for a longer time, especially with minifigures. I know they want to evolve, but it kinda sucks that you have to buy battle packs to grow large armies, because when collecting troopers through regular sets, you get different versions every so often. For example, the 2014 Stormtrooper still looks very good today, and I much prefer it over the current ones. Now yes, I do agree with you, I think the 2014 Stormtrooper is way better than the current ones, and I think a lot of other people would agree with that as well, and I'd actually go so far to say it's probably the best Stormtrooper LEGO has made in my opinion. And then you talked about LEGO keeping their designs for a longer time, specifically with minifigures, and I mean they do keep their basic trooper designs for quite a while. Like obviously they'll stick with a Stormtrooper design for a few years. I mean we've had the current Stormtrooper design since 2019, and they do the same with clone troopers. However, you talked about collecting multiple troopers through regular sets, and I mean if you're trying to build an army, you just shouldn't be trying to do that through regular sets. That's what battle packs are for. I mean obviously the main reason is because it would just be way more expensive, because I mean regular sets are about the build and not so much the minifigures. So if it is like, let's say, some type of Republic vehicle, it'll most likely have like not more than 2 clone troopers in it. And then there's exceptions here and there like the ATTE or the Republic fighter tank from last year that both had multiple clone troopers, but usually the bigger sets are just gonna have 1 or 2 of the troopers, and the battle packs are always gonna have 4. And obviously that's just gonna be very expensive, especially if you're trying to build an army. I mean collecting a large amount of minifigures through regular sets is just not a very good idea. And also honestly I personally think that regular trooper figures should be changing every 5 or so years, because obviously depending on how common they are, most of us are gonna end up owning some of them, and every now and then we're gonna want some new designs. Bella Dog says, hot take, the original phase 2 clone troopers LEGO made are overhyped, overrated, and look more like a watered down stormtrooper than a phase 2 clone. They held up back then, but now I don't think they do. Now one thing a lot of people don't really know about the old 2005 phase 2 clone troopers is that their helmet designs were based off of the phase 2 clone troopers in the 2003 Clone Wars cartoon, and in that cartoon the phase 2 clone troopers helmets look pretty much identical to the 2005 LEGO ones. And then obviously they went through a redesign for episode 3. I'm not sure why LEGO didn't redesign them, maybe they didn't have enough time, or maybe they didn't have the technology to. However, the original phase 2 helmets are based off of the phase 2 clone troopers in the 2003 Clone Wars cartoon, so that is why they don't look as sleek, and they're a lot wider, and they sort of resemble stormtroopers more than phase 2 clone troopers. Walta Gaming says, it shocks me that we have never had a proper Mon Calamari ship set. Like the fact we got a Coruscant Guard gunship before a proper Home 1 is insane, and you know this shocks me as well. And what even shocks me more is that nobody in the LEGO community even really acknowledges this, and the people that do acknowledge it are just satisfied with that little Home 1 set we got back in 2009 that was just an interior build. And I'm actually so happy I'm finally getting the chance to talk about this, because the Home 1 or any Mon Calamari ship is a staple in almost any Rebel fleet. And yes, it just shocks me that LEGO has never even attempted to make this set. You could say the same with the Nebulon B, but at least we got that weird miniature mini-scale Nebulon B a few years ago, and at least they considered to make that a UCS set with the pole that included the gunship and the TIE bomber. However, LEGO has just never even given us anything related to an actual scaled Mon Calamari Star Cruiser, and it's super disappointing because I think they look so cool and they could have such good minifigures. And I would love to try to start some type of movement to get LEGO to notice that we need this ship. However, I just don't think many people really care, because currently everyone just really cares about clone troopers and prequel sets, and the only original trilogy sets people care about are mainly just Imperial vehicles. It seems like most Rebel ships, especially capital ships, are just not going to get very much attention from the fans or LEGO, and that's really disappointing to me because a lot of those ships have some really awesome designs. Casey Brick says, hot take, the mech sets are not half as bad as people make them out to be. I bought all 3 and it was a nice way to get very detailed versions of the characters. Boba Fett was the best mech, as Boba himself was the most detailed. And I actually strongly agree with you. I have all 3 of the mech sets as well, and I really like all 3 of them. And actually this might be a bit of a hot take, but I actually like the mech sets a lot better than microfighters. I've just never really liked the idea of having a super disproportional micro scale vehicle, because I think the builds just look kind of dumb, and really the only reason to buy them, for me at least, is just the figures. However, with the mechs, the builds are actually cool and they're really fun to collect, and they come with awesome figures like you said. And I think they're a perfect sub-theme of LEGO Star Wars sets for people to collect, because they really do everything the microfighters did and more, because the microfighters were good for the minifigures obviously, but the builds are kind of just meh. But the mechs actually have really cool builds that look great on display, and they have awesome minifigures. So yes, I do like the mechs, and I will continue to be buying all of them. Link's Pokemon says, hot take, if LEGO makes the Naboo Royal Starship, I would be fine if LEGO just makes it gray, cause if it was all chrome, a Playscale version would probably cost $500 to $600, while a UCS version would probably cost $1,200. Now first of all, I don't think any playset is ever going to cost $500 or $600. Playsets usually aren't going to get above probably $170, but I mean yeah, if LEGO ever did end up making a Naboo Royal Starship, which I doubt they will, it would most likely be all gray, and this actually isn't a bad thing because there is that metallic-y gray color that does sort of have a shine to it that they definitely could use instead of just all chrome pieces, because it would actually make it shiny and appealing to the eye and not just kind of bland like normal gray pieces would, and it obviously wouldn't be super expensive like all chrome pieces would be. And speaking on if it would be UCS or Playscale, I think the main ships that come to mind when we think of a Naboo Royal Starship is obviously the Queen's Royal Starship and then Padme's Royal Yacht. There's also the Naboo Cruiser, but that ship is absolutely massive and I don't think it's as popular as the other two. So speaking of the Queen's Royal Starship, it is a pretty big ship and I doubt LEGO would be able to pull it off making that minifigure scale, but I think they could make a pretty good $600 UCS set out of it. And then a ship that could easily work as play scale or minifigure scale is Padme's Royal Yacht, as I think LEGO could definitely pull their ship off in minifigure scale because it's not too big and I think it would probably end up costing maybe $600, or it could be a perfect like $100 play scale set. And these are just my suggestions and what I think would probably happen if LEGO ever dabbled into making these ships. But again, like I said at the beginning, I doubt they ever will, as anything from Attack of the Clones that wasn't seen on Geonosis is just not very popular to LEGO or the community. Ma PS7CU says, hot take, the Star Wars buildable characters are so underrated. We were about to get some of the greatest Technic Star Wars vehicles in a bigger format. The clones, Darth Vader, or Boba Fett were pretty good sets. I would actually love to bring this theme back again even though nobody really cares that much, thanks to Jyn Erso type figures. Now I agree with most of this. Yes, you are right, we were about to get some really nice buildable characters, and when you were talking about the 501st ATRT, I know you were referring to this image right here from I believe like 2018 maybe or 2017 that showed a buildable 501st Trooper with a Technic ATRT and also showed a buildable B1 Super Battle Droid. And I mean man, we almost got these sets and they would have been so cool, especially the 501st Trooper with the ATRT. I was never really interested in buildable characters on their own, however the ones that came with the vehicles were really cool to me, like the Scout Trooper with the Bark Speeder, and then obviously like I've said, a 501st Trooper with an ATRT would have been incredible, and the Super Battle Droid would have been good as well. However, yeah, you're right, the buildable characters like Jyn Erso really did kind of ruin the theme. Name any of them, any of the Jedi, Rey, Jyn Erso, Luke Skywalker, Baze Malbus even, they all just looked really weird because LEGO tried to replicate their face. However, the buildable characters that were of like troopers that wore helmets or any other characters that wore helmets actually looked really cool, I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, sadly, I don't think this theme is probably ever gonna come back, and I'm just talking about buildable characters. I do think we're gonna get like Technic characters because obviously we're getting the Droideka next year. However, buildable characters in this type of format are probably just not going to come back like you said, and sadly that 501st Trooper with the ATRT is probably never going to see the light of day. At User says, hot take, almost if not all worst of first buy YouTubers just end up being least expensive set to most expensive set. It is irrelevant to say that a $400 set is better than a $40 set. It feels out of touch, honestly, and misses the point of ranking by quality. No hate to you, just a trend I've noticed from YouTubers. It's kind of convenient how you say no hate to me, but you commented this literally like 10 minutes after I dropped my ranking every Rogue One sets video. But regardless, I do rank by quality, and one thing I always keep in mind with my ranking videos is the value of this set. So I mean, if it's $400 and you're getting $400 worth of high quality product, I'm gonna put it towards the top of the list. I don't care how much it costs. If it's good, it's good. And if it's a $50 set and you're getting more quality with $50 than you are with a set that costs $400, I'm gonna put the $50 set over the $400 one. So yeah, nice try, but I don't rank based on least expensive to most expensive. And I think that's a good one to end on, so that's gonna do it all for this week's episode. As always, if you guys have any hot takes or controversial opinions about LEGO Star Wars, make sure to go ahead and leave them in the comments below. And if you want to check out more of my videos, you can see them on the end screen right now.